Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. Solid state drive prices are always being reduced and they're getting ever cheaper to produce, although at the moment with the pandemic, we're seeing a bit of fluctuation in the market and the prices will eventually come back down. Now, a lot of the time when people in our Discord share their PC part picker list, they almost always have a 2.5-inch SSD as their storage. Sometimes it's for budget purposes and sometimes they just don't know there's a better way to do SSDs. Now, if you go back to the price thing, the WDBlue drives of the mechanical world from years gone by were always the more budget-focused storage option. But what if WD had the same idea, but instead applied that to NVMe M.2 drives? And that's exactly where this drive comes in. The WDBlue SN550. Yeah, let's see if this little drive here is worth your hard-earned money. WD actually sent over the 1TB version of the SN550, but it does come in smaller capacities like 500 gig and 250 gig as well. But since we don't have either of those, this is the one we're going to be talking about, the 1TB version, and it's also the fastest drive in that lineup. The WD SN550 M.2 SSD is WD's answer to them slowly phasing out their SATA M.2 SSD drives, and it's really designed for PC enthusiasts, for gamers, and buyers who really want to get the most storage at an affordable price, but not really sacrifice that much speed. And generally, M.2 drives are faster than their SATA counterparts by a minimum factor of probably around 4 times. The SN550 has adequate random read and write performance of around 410K to 405 IOPS, and the drive is also fully PCIe Gen 3 capable and compatible and should also work in Gen 4 slots too. And we did actually test this and it works perfectly. It comes with a 5-year limited warranty and should give you around 1.7 million hours before anything goes wrong, and that's around 194 years. So yeah, it's quite a lot. Now, all this is well and good, but to be honest, it's a bunch of stuff that WD basically has all over their website. But that's not what we do around here. So what I decided to do again was put 12 of the available M.2 drives that we've got through a crazy amount of testing. And the way we test this is we fill every drive to 50% capacity. We run 5 different tests. We run that 20 times and we calculate the average speed of all of those 20 tests conducted. We run a 1 gigabyte, a 4 gigabyte, a 16 gigabyte, a 32 gigabyte, and a 64 gigabyte test on all the 12 drives to give these results some context. And we actually retested everything as well, as I mentioned, and I've been rebuilding our storage database in my spare time. This means if you do the math and you calculate it, we ran the tests around 9,000 times in total for all the benchmark runs to rebuild this NVMe database. And we only did thermal testing on the SN550 because it's the focus of this video, and to be honest, rebuilding all of that data took us a colossal amount of time and I didn't feel like it was really relevant, and the drives tested are the only drives that we have here on hand. And if I didn't test something, it just means I don't have one, so please don't ask why we didn't test a certain drive. So strap yourselves in. We're about to throw probably more than 40 graphs at your eyeballs and it's a lot of information to unpack. I'm sorry in advance, but see you on the other side. From all that testing, it's pretty clear that the WDBlue SN550 1TB isn't the fastest of the lot, and that's kind of the point of it. It's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be affordable. Now, there's a lot of variation in all the drives that we select, and they all come in different price points for different use cases, and I actually think it's a pretty good sample of drives you might consider buying if you're out trying to buy a new drive. And it's all the way from like the entry level up to the high end, and there's a lot of other things to consider as well with varying amounts of cash and the capacity and the pool of drives. But yeah, I can only provide you with the information that I've got on hand and all the data that we've got available. So as usual, take everything that you're seeing in this video with a grain of salt. There are quite a few variables, so don't take everything in this video as gospel. The next thing I was curious about was that the WDBlue SN550 doesn't include any heatsink, which is actually pretty normal for a Gen 3 drive. So I tested it with and without a heatsink, and the numbers were basically the same within a margin of error. There's nothing interesting to report with that. Flash storage has an optimal operating temperature anyway, and I've mentioned this hundreds of times in other storage videos. So being cold isn't actually always optimal. Okay. So do I think the WDBlue SN550 is worth the money? I think it's affordable and it's not crazy expensive. Now, I've spent a lot more money on M.2 drives with the same capacity and the same speed over the years, and I think the value is actually really starting to show here. 1 TB drives are getting cheaper, and that's actually pretty good because that's like the sweet spot for most people who are building as total storage. So if we compare it to a faster drive like the Seagate FireCuda 510, the SN550 1 TB in Australian dollars, because that's my local currency, the Seagate drive is about 42% more expensive than the WD drive, and it's only around 17 to 20% faster in sequential read and write workloads. And what does that even mean to the regular user? It means you can save money without actually losing a whole lot of performance. And I guarantee most people out there won't even be able to tell the difference anyways. And if I were to blindfold you and do 2 test benches and I didn't tell you what drives they were, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference either. Now, I think the WDBlue SN550 in terms of value is pretty on point. And if you're interested in kind of getting something fast enough for gaming or content creation, and you want to save a few bucks in the process, it's probably going to be a pretty decent drive for you guys to pick up. But if you're interested in grabbing one, they come in a few sizes like I already mentioned. There's a 250 gig version, a 500 gig version, a 1 TB. The 1 TB version, which is this little guy right here, it's going for around 120 US dollars or around 235 Australian dollars at the time of filming this video. And I think that is honestly some pretty decent value for a 1 TB SSD. Even a couple of years ago, a regular 2.5 inch drive would have been a lot more expensive. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the drive. Also, let me know what drives you guys are all using at the moment. I want to know, I want to dive into this more. I love doing these videos and I want to expand our database. I want to see if we can get some more of these drives, and especially the ones that you guys are actually using. Anyways, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, consider hitting the join button or supporting us and getting early access to videos just like this video about this little guy here over on Floatplane. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek, we seek. And if you didn't like the video, you know what to do. Hit the dislike button twice. Thanks for watching.